Yeah, this is Paul. Yeah. Yeah, I was just waking up and I was reading Law on the Farm. And it says here that the dependence on oral leases and local custom tends to discourage change and to preserve the existing practice of systems of farming, whether good or bad. The importance of agriculture to of adequate landlord-tenant relationships is suggested by the fact that nearly half of the farmland in the United States is operated by tenants. For the determination of rights and duties existing between landlords and tenants, there are three principal sources of legal authority: constitutional law, statutory law, and the common law, as represented in court decisions. In all these sources of authority, state law rather than federal law, and is a controlling force. Yeah. Yeah, I found that interesting, that there is a dependence, the dependence on oral leases. But in law, there's three principal sources of legal authority. There's constitutional law, statutory law, and common law as represented in court decision. All these sources of authority, state law rather than federal, is a controlling force. Federal constitution has only broad bearing on the problem. For a lot of those in farming, the whole oral fixation, it's almost like they come to find out, am I a tenant on the farm or not? Now, there seemed to be this communication structure that was superseding just the plain language. Well, would you like to farm my land? It's almost as though those in the fish family didn't understand spoken English. You could have an oral agreement, but if you're in the family, it's a come to find out oral agreement. That can be a big problem. Now, it used to be there was what was known as the written agreement. Let's say I write an agreement and you sign it, and then you agree to what was signed. And then there's the whole authority problem of, well, is it constitutional law, statutory law, or common law? Now, let's say I email those in law enforcement and I tell them what constitutional law says. There is a United States Constitution that has a 5th and 14th Amendment that talks about my right to due process. But in 2011, you issued a protection order where my right to due process was not protected. Now, in constitutional law, that would be violating the Constitution of the United States. But then there's the statutory law. There's a Violence Against Women's Act and the abuse protection law. Now, when you violate the VAWA, because I was not given actual notice and opportunity to be heard, you should have removed that protection order. Yes. And that would probably be considered statutory law. Then there's what's called common law. You know those instruction forms that they give on the court's website? Yes. Where the law requires that the respondent have actual notice and opportunity to be heard before a protection order can be issued. A protection order that has been used to abduct, exploit, and hold hostage my 5 sons. Now, I know I'm not in the come to find out fish family of those that have oral agreements. I'm in the actual United States citizens. I was born in the United States. I was born in Auburn, at Auburn General Hospital on July 13th, 1970. I think it was in the middle of the night, though, or it would have been the early morning of July 13th. Yes. Now, I've emailed the written law the constitutional law, the federal statutes, the state constitution's Article 3 about you can't take life, liberty, or property without due process. I've emailed the court instruction forms about how the law requires, but I haven't gotten any emails about where are my sons and where is that missing woman, Marilyn Van Proyen, the woman that I wanted to have with me as the mother of my sons. That's why I said she was so important. Now I know today you're probably like, well, we're in the fish family of the oral fixation. All of our agreements involve some sort of oral. I'm going to need all three principal forms of law enforced today. And for those that need to come to find out, they should read what the Constitution says, what the federal statutes say, what the state constitutions say, what the court forms say. I'm going to want that protection order removed. And I'm going to want to speak to Marilyn Van Proyen. Could you do that today?